This group of friends ends up at the wrong place, and they get covered in goo. Sounds like a good time to me. So we start with the prologue, and the first thing I see is some disgusting stuff boiling in a pot. Then someone with gloves comes and starts stirring. Oh wait, those aren't gloves. The person is just white, like pure white. The year is 1974, by the way. The person is now pouring the liquid from the pot into a wax mask, while her son is eating cereal. Then her husband brings in their other son who is kicking and resisting. In the process of all that, the mask falls to the floor and breaks. They finally manage to strap him to the chair. He scratches his mom and she lands a slap on his face. Then we fast forward to the present day. Two ladies, Carly and Paige, are at a restaurant looking at vacancies in the newspaper. Carly's boyfriend, Wade, comes in and Paige excuses them. She goes out to meet her own boyfriend, Blake, in the car, who seems to be more interested in learning the lyrics to a song than talking to her. Me, if I had a girlfriend. They eventually talk though, and a little more than that. Can't relate. Back at the restaurant, some two guys join Carly and her boyfriend. One of them is Nick, Carly's brother, and the other is Dalton, who just won't stop filming. All six of them are now driving to a football game. Paige and her boyfriend in his truck in front, and the other four in the smaller car behind. As they're driving, the guys behind see that Paige dropped her lip balm and was trying to get it. Yeah. Anyway, they all decide to pull over, camp out for the night, and continue their journey in the morning. They all get down from the car and Carly is talking to Paige about how she needs to tell Blake about her pregnancy. Paige says she'll have a conversation with him when she knows for sure. The camp is now fully set up. The boys are playing catch except Nick. Then the ball rolls to him, and when Wade asks for the ball, we see that there's bad blood between these two, but Carly steps in right in time. Apparently there really is beef between the siblings. He once stole a car and his sister didn't cover for him. He's still mad about that, but Carly's now talking to him about how he never takes accountability, and we also find out that they're not just siblings, they're twins. Interesting. Anyway, while the boys are still playing, something starts smelling really horribly. They worry for a bit, but they get back to drinking and filming real soon. Now Blake is asking Nick why he stole that car and he says it's just for the rush. The girls give Dalton a makeover and he gets back to filming. Both couples are having a blast, and then there's Nick just sitting there with his bottle of beer. Nick is me. Anyway, a truck approaches their camp with some really bright headlights. The driver doesn't come out of the car. He just parks there with the lights beaming at the group. They repeatedly ask him to kill the lights, but he doesn't. Then Nick throws his bottle at one of the lights and smashes it. So the driver just backs off. But we all know that this isn't over, don't we? All of us except these guys. They go to sleep like all is well with the world. Now someone is filming all of them with Dalton's camera while they're asleep. Carly hears some noises which wake her up, so she goes outside to look. She finds nothing though, just her brother who came out to get her back to bed. In the morning, Blake is the first to get up. More like afternoon actually, because he says it's 2:30. He wakes everybody up and they start packing up. Meanwhile, Dalton is now looking for his camera. The girls go into the woods to get changed and a wave of wind brings that nasty smell back. It wasn't me, I swear. Adventurous Carly decides to follow the smell, so they go deeper into the woods. She then misses a step and falls into some pit where there are all sorts of dead animals. She even sees a human hand. She's stuck there. They scream for help and the boys show up and get her out. Always good to have alpha males around. While they're still down there, a man pulls up in a truck and throws a dead deer into the pit. They alert him about the human hand and he goes there, pulls it out, and shows them it's actually not real. Then he goes, "Anyone need a hand?" Classic joke. But these guys are not in the mood, so he doesn't get a laugh. Know your audience, I guess. While Paige is trying to help Carly clean up, Wade is telling the man he needs a new fan belt. His just got busted. The guy tells Wade where he can get a fan belt and even offers to drive him up there. He accepts the offer and Carly follows him. The rest of the pack go off to the game. Oh, and by the way, Nick offers Carly his vest because hers is ruined. He's not totally a jerk after all. During the ride, the driver starts giving them some weird looks. Carly notices a knife on him and he brings it out, stabs his dashboard, and brings the car to an abrupt stop. He tells them there's a town just around the bend and they decide to walk. You can tell they're a little creeped out. Who wouldn't be? They suspect he tricked them just to bring them out here and clamped them or something. But there is indeed a town. He wasn't lying. Now they feel like jerks. Meanwhile, the other group is stuck in traffic. It's so bad that they decide to turn around and forfeit the game. Carly and Wade are walking around the little town now. There's no one at the gas station, so they go into the church to ask. By the way, someone sort of looked at them strangely from a window, and Wade noticed a place called House of Wax. Where do I know that name from? Oh, the title of the movie. A funeral is going on at the church, so they mouth their apologies and go back out. While they're out, one of the bereaved comes out and they apologize for walking in like that and explain that they're not from here and we're only looking for the guy at the gas station. As coincidence would have it, he's the guy at the gas station. The man lashes out at them though and goes back to the church. He comes back a few seconds later and apologizes for lashing out and tells them he'll be with them at the gas station in like 30 minutes. While they have some time on their hands, they decide to go check out the House of Wax. Someone is in there sculpting a body, but he's in the basement, so they don't see him when they go in, but he hears them come in. By the way, the sign said closed, but that didn't stop them, which they'll soon instantly regret. Wade is in awe of the House of Wax, but then says he can't recognize any of the wax figures. Aren't there supposed to be famous people in a wax museum, he asks? I thought so too. He'll come to understand why there isn't later. Carly notices some newspaper articles framed and hanging on the walls. All of them are about a woman named Trudy. She's the owner of the place. Wade sees a dog and thinks it's a wax figure too, but this one is real. It barks at him and runs away. That startles him and he falls to the ground. Carly gets a good laugh out of that. There's also a piano here that is in wax. Wade plays some notes on it as Carly discovers some artwork sculpted and painted by a guy named Vincent. Carly now goes to a mirror. She wipes it and looks in it, and she sees someone looking in through the window from the mirror. Wade goes out to check the thing, but of course he sees nothing. While she's inside alone, Wade knocks on the window and that startles her, so she pushes a wax figure down and runs straight out. She didn't even care that she broke the neck of the poor wax guy. Now we see Nick and Dalton taking a leak when Blake comes and asks them to go pick up Carly and Wade, cause he and Paige want some alone time. Okay, rein it in, cowboy. Carly and Wade are now at the gas station trying to get a fan belt themselves, since the man hasn't come out from the funeral yet. While they're there, Wade asks Carly why her brother has beef with him, but she says Nick just has beef with everybody. She goes on telling Wade about how he would get into trouble when they were younger, and their parents would always compare Nick to her, so he started referring to himself as the evil twin, and Carly the good twin. Anyway, Wade can't find a 15-inch fan belt, so he says he'll just make do with the 16. Take it from me, every inch counts. As he takes it, the man shows up and asks, you plan on stealing it? But nah, Carly is the good twin. She can't do evil. Wade apparently already left money on the counter for it, but he complains that he didn't find the right size. The man says he has a 15-inch at the house, which is only a few blocks away, and they can go get it. Wade is reluctant, but Carly seems pretty enthusiastic, so they go. They're having a conversation about the House of Wax on their way, and he's telling them about Trudy, who owns the place, Vincent, who was one of her boys, and Dr. Sinclair, Trudy's husband, who was working in the big city until his license got revoked and he had to move to this little town. They started life afresh here, had kids, and all was going great until Trudy had a cyst in her brain and basically started going crazy. Dr. Sinclair had to strap her to the bed, and she would scream so loudly that the entire town could hear. Don't read that out of context. Being a doctor, he got so depressed that he couldn't save her, so he clapped himself. Their boys were taken to foster homes. I don't need to tell you that this is the family from the prologue, do I? Anyway, now they're at the house. He offers to drive them back to where their friends will pick them up, so Carly waits in the car while Wade goes in with him to use the bathroom. We now see Nick and Dalton in Blake's truck, and from their conversation, we find out that it was actually Dalton who stole a car, and Nick only covered for him. A real stand-up guy, I see. At the house, Wade finishes using the bathroom, and instead of him just going back outside and being with his girlfriend, his nosy self decides to go into one of the rooms and start touching things. It's some sciencey stuff, and then he sees a general surgery certificate hanging on the wall with the name Victor Sinclair. Nothing clicks for Wade though. He still continues on his tour. He sees some skulls and then opens a curtain and sees some tools. He picks some of them up and starts playing with them. Carly, meanwhile, is tired of just sitting in the car, so she comes out to stretch her legs for a bit, and then she sees it. The broken headlight. That's the man from last night. She panics and goes to press the horn to alert Wade, and as soon as he hears it, the light in the room he's in goes out. He tries to leave, but the door is locked. He's knocking, but nobody's answering. Then someone creeps up from behind him with a pair of scissors and gives his leg a quick adjustment. He doesn't see the person though. He's staggering backward and he grabs a weapon, but that doesn't help him as the person appears and attacks him a couple times. Carly is now more panicky. She calls Blake, but it goes into voicemail. While she's leaving a message, the man comes out with a box. He says he's got the fan belt. She asks for her boyfriend, but he says he must still be in the bathroom or something. She's suspicious, so she gets into the truck and locks herself in it. She tells him she knows he's the guy from the campsite, so he smashes the window and tries to drag her out. Now she's in survival mode. She starts the car and just drives. She manages to throw him off the car, but then the truck gets stuck and she can't go any further. He appears in front of the truck, so she climbs out from the back and manages to run away. Nick and Dalton are still driving towards them, having trivial conversations, not knowing that there's some real fire on the mountain. The person who attacked Wade drags him into a room and is cutting up all his clothes. This person has a mask on, so I don't even know if it's a man or a woman, or a they. They inject him with something, pour some liquid on him, and start sewing him up. He's nearly unconscious, but he sees the dog from the House of Wax. So this is the same person from the wax place then. Okay, that's definitely a man. He opens a pot with some nasty looking liquid, like we saw in the prologue. He rubs it on Wade's facial hair and then puts a sheet over his face. He then drags it off pretty quickly, and I'm sure you know what this process is called. Yes, waxing. While this is happening, Carly is running back out the same way they came in. She gets to some part of town and all the lights just start coming on by themselves. But more importantly, some really crazy stuff is happening back at the lab. The masked man has put some contraption over Wade's face and strapped him into some weird chair. He now opens some faucets and Wade is now being covered in muddy water. Actually, it's wax, not mud. Wait a minute, it's just now clicking. All those people in the House of Wax were real people who were made into wax. Wow. You think that's crazy? Listen to this. Carly runs into the church to ask for help, and she finds out that they're all wax figures too. All of them, including the priest. There was never any funeral earlier in the day. The sounds they heard were coming from a record player. Wow. She sees a flyer that says the funeral is for Trudy Sinclair, and she looks into the casket and sees Trudy herself, but in wax. While she's still taking all this in, the man from the truck comes into the church, and the first thing he says is, "I'm sorry, Mama. These people just have no respect." So my suspicion is confirmed. He is Trudy's son, the one from the prologue. His name is Bo. He's walking around the church looking for Carly, but he doesn't find her. He's just about to leave when he stops and goes to check one more place, under the priest's robe. There she was. She feels his hands on her face, so she screams and darts out. He chases after her, catches up with her, and pushes her to the ground. While he has her pinned to the floor, she notices someone looking from a window. She screams for help, but nothing. Dalton and Nick arrive at that little body of water where Carly and Wade stopped earlier, so they come down and do the remaining journey on foot. Meanwhile, Bo is carrying Carly into the gas station. He puts on some rock music and takes her into the basement where he straps her to a chair, just like he was strapped in years ago, duct tape and all. Nick and Dalton arrive at the gas station while all this is happening. Carly hears their voice and tries to scream, but Bo threatens her with a knife to her throat. The boys check around trying to see where the music is coming from, but they find nothing, so they leave the gas station and split to go check out other places. Not a good idea to split at this time, boys. While Dalton sights the House of Wax and starts walking towards it, Bo, at the gas station, literally glues Carly's mouth shut and leaves her in the room. I want to remind you guys at this point that while all this is happening to Carly, her best friend is breaking it down at the campsite. This is why I never engage in such activities. It's so destructive. Back at the gas station, Bo goes outside and meets Nick, who tells him he's looking for his sister. Bo says he hasn't seen them, but Nick insists they must have been here since that's the only gas station in town. While Bo is trying to get Nick to leave and go to his house, Carly is struggling and trying to get her brother to see her. She's putting her finger up through a hole, and Sinclair goes and chips it off with a pair of pliers. Damn, Nick still did not notice though, because he can't hear her scream. Now they're walking away from the gas station and towards the house while Carly is trying to get the glue off her mouth. She successfully does and screams Nick's name. The moment they hear her voice, Bo attacks Nick with a knife, but Nick ducks and lands 2 blows on his face. Sometimes it's good to have a bad boy brother. Nick runs into the gas station and locks Bo out of it, then goes to attend to his sister downstairs. Meanwhile, Dalton is entering the House of Wax now. He calls out for Carly and Wade, but nobody answers, because obviously they're not there. Oh wait, Wade is there, but that's Wax Wade. His eyes are moving, but he can't talk or move any other part of his body. Dalton is trying to get the wax off him while Wade is trying to use his eyes to send a message to him that somebody is coming, but he doesn't get the message, and the masked man comes from behind and tries to hit Dalton. He misses and slices off a huge part of Wade's face. Dalton is trying to run away now, but the man catches up with him, throws him down the stairs, and cuts off his head with 2 eerie looking knives. Wait, you mean Dalton is dead just like that? What? Back at the gas station, Nick has managed to free his sister and they see Bo driving off. Nick tries to call the police, but the telephone is basically useless. Carly tells Nick about how everyone here is wax, but she noticed there was one woman in one building who was alive, so they go to that house. But they find out that she isn't even alive. She's a wax figure who has been programmed to move the curtain like that every few seconds. Let's go back to the campsite for a bit. These two are still hanging out. How long does this process take anyway? I'd have no idea. Truth is, Paige just wants to talk, but before they can start conversing, the music went off, so Blake first went to attend to that. While he's there, he picks up the phone and listens to the message Carly left him hours ago. Now he knows there's trouble. Inside the tent, Paige turns off the light. Then she sees someone coming into the tent. She thinks it's Blake, but it's not. It's the masked man. She screams and runs out of the tent, only to find out that her boyfriend had his neck adjusted. Oh, these guys are really just dropping like flies now, huh? Paige is now running for dear life. More like jogging for dear life, honestly. She goes to some dark places and hides, but as she crouches there, all the lights come on. She finds some phones in a box, but none of them work. She grabs a pipe to use as a weapon and is now looking out for the assailant. She can grab my pipe anytime. But all of a sudden, she feels a stab on her foot. Someone is stabbing her from the holes on the floor. She runs downstairs and goes to hide in a car, but the man finds her. When he opens the door, she hits him on the face, but it doesn't do much damage to his wax mask. She runs and hides behind a car and he keeps chasing her. She looks up through the window to check where he is and boom, the pipe she was holding goes right through her forehead. That's it. She's clapped. He goes and makes a video of him removing the pipe from her forehead with Dalton's camera. I've recorded similar videos with my pipe. So back to Nick and Carly. They're They're walking around this creepy town and trying to figure things out. Nick breaks into a store and gets a bow and some arrows from one of the wax figures, and in a few seconds, Bo appears and starts shooting at them. They run away and into a cinema where a movie is playing. He follows them. The cinema hall is full of wax figures, so it's not so easy to catch them among the crowd, but he eventually finds Carly where she's sitting and shoots at her, but she ducks right in time. Nick then shoots an arrow at him from behind and he falls to the ground. He gets back up and shoots again, but he misses again. He steps out of the cinema and there Nick is waiting for him with his bow and arrow. He shoots one straight into Bo's chest and down he goes. They take his gun and search his pockets, but there's nothing there. They go back to the truck to retrieve Carly's phone, but they don't find it there, so they go into the house. Inside the house, Carly finds some pictures and newspaper articles about the twins. Apparently, they were conjoined twins. While she's looking through that, Bo comes into the house with the arrow still in his chest and arm. He goes to the kitchen and is pulling them out while Carly is hiding, and Nick is exploring the other rooms in the house. While all that is happening, the other Sinclair twin, his name is Vincent by the way, yes, that Vincent from the artwork, pulls up in a truck carrying Wade's and Paige's body. Bo talks a bit about how mom would be proud, and he ends up saying, "There's two more. We still got a lot of work to do." Bo finds a picture on the floor and figures people are in the house. Then Nick appears from behind Carly and leads her into a room down the stairs into the basement where there are some machines. They're trying to find the light switch, so they're just flicking every switch they see. Unbeknownst to them, those switches control a bunch of lights in the town. The twins see those lights go on and off and figure the twins are down there. You see what I did there? They eventually find the light switch though, and they also find the place where Wade was waxed. So now they confirm that he has been clapped too. While they're still trying to mourn, Vincent comes and attacks them with his knives, but they manage to set the place on fire and escape. They go upstairs into the house of wax and they find Bo there. He and Nick get in a fist fight, and I'll be honest with you, Nick is getting his butt kicked, but he managed to tug at the arrow in Bo's chest. That doesn't do the damage though, as he manages to still stab Nick in the leg, but Carly comes and hits him in the face repeatedly with the baseball bat she has been holding. Oh, and by the way, the fire from downstairs is getting up now and everything is melting. Vincent shows up and goes straight to his brother's lifeless body. Then he lets out a cry and starts chasing Carly, who's running upstairs through the melting wax. He follows her into the room she's hiding in. He literally tears through the door and starts attacking her. She's trying to talk her way out of getting clapped, but it doesn't stop Vincent. Fortunately though, Nick shows up at the right time and attacks him. Vincent is now trying to stab Nick, but Carly comes, takes the knife off Nick's leg, and stabs Vincent with it. Carly, the good twin who had never done anything wrong before, has clapped 2 men today alone. The siblings are now trying to make their way out of the house, which is basically now a melting ruin. They manage to tear through the wall and crawl out at the right time, so they stand outside and watch the entire house go up in flames. More like go down in flames though, considering everything was melting. The next day, the whole place is littered with police and ambulances. Carly is asking how nobody knew about what was going on here, and the sheriff is saying this town is hard to get to, and has pretty much been off the map for years. Nick and Carly are transported in the ambulance, and Nick shows his sister that he had stolen Dalton's camera from the cops. But the drama is not over yet. The sheriff receives a call from a subordinate who ran a search on the Sinclair family, and apparently there weren't just 2 sons, there were 3. Can you guess the third one? Yes, that guy. The one who brought them into the town in the first place. It would appear he's the one who brings people into the wax town and hands them to his brothers to do as they please. So simple math tells me that he has orchestrated it all, broke the fan belt and showed up at the perfect time and played angel by offering them help, only to lead them to the doom of 4 of their friends. Carly sees him on their way out while she's in the ambulance and he waves at her. The nerve, the audacity. Moral of the story? Waxing is dangerous. Just shave. With today's sponsor Manscaped, just kidding, I gotcha.